Most people look down not because there is nothing above them, but because the mind has been trained to search in dust. Downward looking is the habit of fear. It is the posture of those who expect life to betray them. Psalm 121 begins with a simple but revolutionary act, lifting the eyes. This is not about hills, mountains, or skies. It is about lifting consciousness from the clutter of anxiety into clarity. When you look up, you are not asking for help. You are remembering that help has always been there. The mind looks down because it is heavy with the past. Awareness looks up because it is light, unburdened, childlike. To look up is to say yes to existence without conditions. Your life does not change because circumstances improve. It changes because your inner direction changes. The moment your eyes move upward, inwardly, something subtle shifts. You stop being a victim. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop waiting for permission to live. The psalm does not promise comfort. It promises alignment. And alignment is transformation. When you are aligned with existence, even chaos becomes meaningful. Even uncertainty becomes a teacher. Even pain becomes a passage. People ask, who will protect me? Who will guide me? Who will save me? These questions arise from misunderstanding. Protection is not a wall around you. It is awareness within you. The psalm says the keeper does not sleep, not because someone is watching you like a guard, but because life itself is awake. Trees do not sleep in fear. Rivers do not pause to calculate danger. Stars do not hesitate before shining. Only the human mind trembles because it has forgotten how to trust the whole. Looking up is remembering that you are part of an intelligence far greater than your personal plans. Fear exists only when you believe you are separate. The moment you feel connected, fear loses its nourishment. Psalm 121 is an invitation to dissolve separation. It says you are not walking alone. Every step is accompanied, not by an external authority, but by the rhythm of existence itself. When you walk in trust, the path appears. When you walk in doubt, even the open road feels blocked. Life does not respond to effort. It responds to alignment. You have been taught to control, to secure, to ensure your future. This teaching creates tension. The psalm offers a different way, relaxation into trust. Not blind belief, but deep seeing. When you look up, you see that life has carried you through every moment you once feared you would not survive. You are here not because you fought well, but because life supported you silently. The sun rose without your effort. Breath entered your body without your permission. Your heart learned its rhythm without consulting your mind. Change your life does not mean rearrange your outer world. It means shift your inner posture. From resistance to receptivity. From fear to friendliness. From control to cooperation. When you live this way, life does not become perfect, but it becomes meaningful. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is life showing me now? This shift alone is revolution. The hills mentioned are symbols of higher understanding. You do not climb them with ambition. You arrive there by letting go. The mind wants to conquer truth. Awareness simply opens to it. When you look up, you are not escaping the world. You are seeing it rightly. You stop shrinking yourself to fit your fears. You expand into your natural size. This psalm is not ancient poetry. It is a living meditation. Each line is a reminder to step out of panic and into presence. When you walk, walk knowing you are supported. When you rest, rest knowing nothing essential is missing. When darkness comes, remember that even night is part of the whole. The watcher does not sleep because existence has no gaps. Only the mind creates gaps and then calls them problems. Your life begins to change the moment you stop asking for guarantees. Start living with gratitude. Gratitude is not thankfulness for good events. It is thankfulness for being. When you look up, gratitude arises naturally. you realize you have been carried all along. This realization is not dramatic. It is silent. And in that silence, fear evaporates, effort softens, and life begins to flow without friction, like a river that has finally remembered its way to the ocean, moving without doubt, without argument, without asking whether it deserves. To arrive, fear is not created by danger. Fear is created by resistance. When you resist life, fear is born. When you trust life, fear dissolves. Trust is not something you practice. It is something you remember. Psalm 121 speaks to this remembrance. It does not tell you to fight fear, because fighting only gives fear more energy. It invites you to see that fear survives only in darkness, and darkness survives only where awareness is absent. The moment awareness enters, fear begins to fade like a shadow in morning light. Most human beings live in constant inner tension, because they are always preparing for something to go wrong. This preparation becomes a way of life. Even joy is guarded, even love is cautious, even silence is suspicious. Trust feels risky only because you have been trained to believe that life is hostile. But existence is not an enemy, it is a womb. It has carried you before you knew how to ask, before you knew how to plan, before you knew how to protect yourself. Trust is not foolishness. It is intelligence aligned with the whole. Psalm 121 does not say that nothing difficult will happen. It says that nothing will happen outside the care of existence. There is a subtle but profound difference. Difficulty with trust becomes growth. Difficulty without trust becomes suffering. The outer event may be the same, but the inner response transforms everything. When trust becomes awareness, you stop reacting unconsciously. You begin to respond consciously. And in that response, fear loses its grip. Fear always lives in the future. Trust lives in the present. Awareness brings you back to now, where fear cannot breathe. In this moment, you are safe. In this moment, you are alive. In this moment, nothing is lacking. Psalm 121 is constantly pulling you back to this moment. It is saying, look, right now you are held. Right now you are supported. Right now life is functioning perfectly. Even if your mind disagrees, the mind wants proof before trust. Awareness trusts first and then sees. This is why the mind never relaxes. It waits for certainty, and certainty never arrives. Life is uncertainty by nature, and that is its beauty. Trust does not eliminate uncertainty. It makes uncertainty danceable. When you trust, you do not demand guarantees. You move with openness. You become flexible, like water, adapting without losing your essence. Fear makes you rigid. It closes you. It narrows your vision. Trust opens you. It softens you. It expands your perception. Psalm 121 is not a promise of security. It is an invitation to fluidity. When you stop trying to secure yourself, you become secure. When you stop guarding yourself, you become protected. Protection is not something added from outside. It is the natural consequence of alignment. Awareness is the highest form of trust. To be aware means to be present with whatever is, not escaping, not suppressing, not pretending. When you are aware, fear has no hiding place. It cannot manipulate you from the unconscious. You see it, and in seeing it, it loses power. Psalm 121 does not ask you to believe in words. It asks you to live in awareness. The words are pointers. The experience is the truth. When trust becomes awareness, you no longer ask, what if things go wrong? You ask, what is life inviting me to learn? This shift is subtle, but it changes the entire quality of your existence. Life stops being a battlefield and becomes a pilgrimage. You walk not with armor, but with openness. You meet challenges not with resistance, but with curiosity. Fear isolates. Trust connects. Awareness reveals that you are not a fragment struggling alone. but a wave moving with the ocean. Psalm 121 keeps reminding you of this connection. The watcher does not sleep because existence is continuously aware. When you align with this awareness, you share in its fearlessness. Not because you become invincible, but because you become available to life as it is. Trust does not mean passivity. It means deep participation without anxiety. You act, but without clinging to results. You move, but without forcing direction. Awareness guides action more intelligently than fear ever could. Fear rushes. Awareness waits. Fear reacts. Awareness responds. And in this response, life flows with less friction. The moment trust becomes awareness, the inner noise begins to settle. The constant commentary, the endless calculation, the background tension slowly dissolves. You begin to feel at home in your own being. This is the real change Psalm 121 points toward. Not a change in events, but a change in your inner climate. When the inner climate changes, even storms feel meaningful. You have lived too long under the illusion that fear keeps you safe. Fear has never protected anyone. Awareness protects. Presence protects. Alignment protects. Trust is not blind, it is clear-eyed. It sees danger when danger is present. But it does not manufacture danger when none exists. It deals with reality directly, not with imagination. When trust becomes awareness, prayer is no longer asking. Prayer becomes listening. Silence becomes communication. You no longer shout your needs into the void. You rest in the understanding that life already knows. Psalm 121 is not a request for help. It is a declaration of belonging. And belonging dissolves fear at its root. This is how life changes. Not subtly, not dramatically, but deeply. Fear loosens its hold. Awareness takes its place. Trust stops being a concept and becomes a way of breathing, a way of walking, a way of being. And from this space, life unfolds with a quiet intelligence, guiding without force, supporting without noise. Transforming without effort. Protection is misunderstood because the mind thinks in terms of control. Control is force. Protection is sensitivity. Control tries to dominate life. Protection flows with it. Psalm 121 speaks of protection, but not the kind that imprisons you in safety. It points toward a protection that allows you to move freely without fear. When you are controlled, you are safe but dead. When you are protected, you are alive and open. The difference is awareness. The mind wants protection in the form of certainty, guarantees, fixed outcomes. But life is not fixed. It is dynamic. True protection does not come from freezing life into predictability. It comes from being so aware, so present, that whatever arises can be met intelligently. Psalm 121 does not promise that nothing will touch you. It promises that whatever touches, you will not destroy your essence. This is a far deeper assurance. Presence is protection because presence means you are here. Most accidents in life happen because you are absent. Your body is in one place, your mind in another. You stumble not because the road is dangerous, but because you are not present. The psalm says your foot will not slip, not as a magical guarantee, but as a statement of awareness. When you are present, your steps become intelligent. You move in harmony with the moment. Control creates tension. You are always holding something tightly, afraid it might escape. Presence has no tension. It trusts the moment. And in this trust, there is a natural protection. Just as an animal senses danger without anxiety, awareness senses what is needed without panic. Psalm 121 invites you to return to this natural intelligence that you were born with, but educated out of. The idea of a watcher who never sleeps is not about surveillance. It is about aliveness. Existence is awake. Life is not unconscious. When you align with this aliveness, you share in its clarity. You do not need to control life when you can cooperate with it. Cooperation is higher than control. Control is ego. Cooperation is wisdom. Protection through control makes you small. You avoid risks, avoid love, avoid depth, because you are afraid of being hurt. Protection through presence makes you vast. You may still be hurt, but you are not afraid. You understand that pain is not the enemy, unconsciousness is. Psalm 121 does not remove pain, it removes fear of pain. And that removal is liberation. When you try to control, you resist change. When you are present, you move with change. Life is change. To resist it is to suffer. To flow with it is to be protected by it. The river does not control its path. It trusts gravity. That trust does not make it weak. It makes it unstoppable. Presence works the same way. Protection is not something added to you from outside. It is revealed when unnecessary interference drops. Your constant interference, your constant thinking, your constant planning, these are the real dangers. They cloud perception. Presence clears perception. And when perception is clear, action becomes precise. Psalm 121 speaks in the language of poetry, but its message is practical. Be here. Be awake. Walk without dragging the past behind you or projecting the future ahead of you. The more present you are, the less vulnerable you become. Vulnerability exists only in unconsciousness. Awareness is invulnerable, not because nothing can touch it, but because it is not fragile. Control builds walls. Presence builds sensitivity. Walls separate you from life. Sensitivity connects you to it. When you are sensitive, you feel before you fall. You sense before you are harmed. This sensing is protection. It is subtle, silent, but immensely powerful. The mind wants to be protected from life. Awareness wants to be protected within life. This is the essential difference. Psalm 121 is not about escaping the world. It is about living in it rightly. When you live rightly, life itself becomes your protection. When presence deepens, you stop asking who will protect me. The question dissolves. You realize you are not separate from the source of protection. You are part of it. You are within it. You are it. And from this realization, fear relaxes, struggle softens, and life unfolds with a quiet confidence. Not because everything is under control, but because everything is being met with awareness, moment to moment. Sleep belongs to the mind. Wakefulness belongs to existence. The mind is tired because it is constantly running in circles. Existence is never tired because it moves in harmony. When Psalm 121 says the watcher never sleeps, it is not describing a person somewhere staying awake for you. It is revealing a fundamental truth. Life is alert. Life is intelligent. Life is continuously responding. Only the human mind drifts into unconsciousness and then calls that state normal. You sleep with your eyes open. You walk, speak, work, love, and yet you are not fully there. This is why life feels uncertain and frightening, not because life is unsafe, but because you are absent. The psalm points toward a reality that is always awake, always available. When you align with this wakefulness, you begin to share in its clarity. The watcher never sleeps because existence has no gaps. There is no moment when life stops caring, stops functioning, stops balancing itself. The sun does not forget to rise. Your heart does not forget to beat while you sleep. Breath does not abandon you when you are distracted. This constant functioning is the true meaning of watchfulness. Life is taking care of itself, and you are included in that care. The mind thinks in fragments. It sees breaks, interruptions, dangers. Awareness sees continuity. It sees the flow. When you live in awareness, You feel this continuity directly. You stop feeling abandoned. You stop feeling alone. The fear of being left disappears because you realize you have never been left. Unconsciousness creates the illusion of threat. Awareness reveals the support that was always present. The watcher never sleeps means support is not conditional. It does not depend on your belief, your prayer, your worthiness. It is there because you exist. Existence is unconditional. You worry because you think life may forget you. This is a projection of your own forgetfulness. You forget yourself, and then you imagine existence forgetting you. When you remember yourself, when you become aware, this projection dissolves. You see that life has perfect memory. It remembers how to grow a tree, how to shape a cloud, how to heal a wound. Wakefulness is not effort. It is relaxation into the present. When you stop forcing the mind to be somewhere else, wakefulness naturally arises. Psalm 121 is not asking you to stay alert like a soldier. It is inviting you to stay open like a flower. A flower does not struggle to be awake. It simply is. When you align with this ever-awake presence, even sleep becomes restful. Even darkness becomes nourishing. You stop fearing unconscious moments because the deeper awareness is continuous. The watcher never sleeps not because you are constantly watching, but because awareness itself is unbroken. Life does not make mistakes the way the mind does. The mind repeats, regrets, replays. Existence moves forward. When you trust this movement, you stop clinging to the past. You stop worrying about the future. You start living. The greatest fear of the mind is falling apart. But existence is already whole. The watcher never sleeps because wholeness has no fear. When you touch this wholeness within yourself, anxiety loses its foundation. You are not required to stay awake all the time. You are invited to remember that something deeper than your mind is always awake. This remembrance brings humility. You stop carrying the burden of managing life. You allow life to manage itself through you. Psalm 121 gently pulls you out of psychological sleep. It says, wake up to the fact that you are supported not by effort but by awareness. When you live from this understanding, even vigilance becomes unnecessary. Life flows, intelligence responds, and you move with a quiet trust, knowing that beneath all change there is an unbroken alertness, holding everything together silently, effortlessly. Without pause, movement becomes difficult only when you resist it. Life is movement. The moment you resist, friction is created, and friction feels like struggle. Psalm 121 speaks of a journey of walking, of going out and coming in. It is not concerned with where you go, but with how you move. When resistance drops, movement becomes effortless. You no longer push life. You allow life to move through you. Effort is born out of fear. You try hard because you are afraid of falling, afraid of failing, afraid of losing control. But effort is not strength. It is tension. True strength is relaxed. Look at nature. The bird flies without effort. The river flows without effort. Effort appears only when something is going against its own nature. When you are in tune with your nature, action is spontaneous. Resistance is subtle. It hides behind words like responsibility, caution, seriousness. But deep down, it is mistrust. You do not trust the moment, so you interfere. Psalm 121 invites you to stop interfering, not to become careless, but to become fluid. Fluidity is intelligence in motion. When you resist, every step feels heavy. Even success feels exhausting. When resistance drops, even challenges feel light. The outer situation may not change, but the inner experience transforms completely. You are no longer dragging yourself through life. You are being carried. The psalm says your coming and your going are both watched over. This means movement itself is sacred. You do not need to reach somewhere to be protected. Protection is present in movement, not at the destination. When you understand this, hurry disappears. You stop rushing toward the future. You start walking fully in the present. Effort always carries a hidden aggression. You are trying to conquer life. Effortless action carries friendliness. You are cooperating with life. Cooperation feels like grace. Things happen at the right moment. Not because you forced them, but because you were available. Resistance also creates inner conflict. One part of you wants to move, another wants to stay safe. This division drains energy. When resistance drops, energy becomes whole. Action arises from wholeness, not from conflict. Such action is powerful without being violent. Psalm 121 is a reminder that you do not need to fight your way through existence. Life is not a battlefield. It is a passage. When you stop fighting, you start flowing. And in this flow, intelligence guides you better than planning ever could. Effortlessness does not mean passivity. It means responsiveness. You respond to life as it comes, not as you imagine it should be. This responsiveness is alive, fresh, creative. It keeps you in tune with the moment. When movement becomes effortless, fear loses its hold. Fear needs resistance to survive. In flow, fear dissolves. You may still be alert, but you are not tense. Alertness without tension is awareness. The more you allow, the more you discover that life has its own rhythm. When you move with this rhythm, you are supported. When you move against it, you feel tired, frustrated, lost. Psalm 121 is teaching you to listen to this rhythm. Your life begins to feel like a dance rather than a task. You are no longer counting steps, you are feeling the music. Even mistakes become part of the dance. You learn, adjust, continue. No guilt, no self-punishment. This is the transformation. Not a change of direction, but a change of quality. From effort to ease, from resistance to flow, from struggle to participation. When this shift happens, movement is no longer something you do. It is something that happens through you, naturally, silently, in tune with the greater movement of existence that has always been guiding you. Whether you were aware of it or not, life supports you long before you decide to trust it. Trust does not create support. It reveals it. You have been breathing without effort, growing without instruction, healing without planning. Support is not a reward. It is the nature of existence. Psalm 121 points to this simple truth. The moment you stop fighting life, you begin to feel how deeply it is on your side. Struggle gives you the illusion of control. You think that by fighting, by worrying, by planning endlessly, you are managing life. In reality, you are only exhausting yourself. Life moves with or without your cooperation. The question is not whether life will move, but whether you will move with it or against it. When you stop fighting, energy that was wasted in resistance becomes available for living. The mind has been trained to believe that surrender is weakness. It is not. Surrender is intelligence recognizing something greater than itself. The river does not surrender to the ocean because it is weak. It surrenders because it knows where it belongs. When you stop fighting life, you are not giving up, you are coming home. Psalm 121 does not say life will bend to your will. It says life will hold you as you move through it. There is a deep difference. When you demand that life obey you, frustration is inevitable. When you allow life to carry you, gratitude arises naturally. Gratitude is the fragrance of non-resistance. Fighting life creates separation. You feel alone, unsupported, unsafe. The moment resistance drops, connection is felt again. You realize that even your struggles were held within a larger support. Even your mistakes were not outside existence. Nothing ever was. Support is subtle. It is not always visible as success or comfort. Sometimes it appears as challenge, as loss, as delay. But awareness sees that even these are shaping you, refining you, deepening you. When you stop fighting, you stop labeling experiences as enemies. You begin to listen to what each moment is teaching. The psalm speaks of life supporting your going and your coming. This means there is no wrong place to be, only wrong attitudes. When you fight the moment, even paradise becomes hell. When you accept the moment, even difficulty becomes meaningful. Non-resistance does not mean you stop acting. It means you stop arguing with reality. You do what needs to be done, but without inner conflict. Action without conflict is clean. It does not leave residue. It does not create regret. Life is already carrying you. You do not need to carry life. This understanding is liberating. You drop unnecessary burdens. You move lightly. You stop asking whether you are safe enough, ready enough, worthy enough. You simply participate. When fighting drops, listening begins. You start sensing subtle guidance, not as loud commands, but as quiet clarity. You know when to move and when to wait. This knowing is not borrowed from books or beliefs. It arises from alignment. Psalm 121 is not asking you to become passive or careless. It is inviting you to become intimate with life. Intimacy removes fear. You do not fear what you are close to, you fear what you are separate from. The ultimate change this psalm offers is not external success. It is inner ease. A feeling of being carried rather than pushed, of being guided rather than lost. When this ease appears, life does not suddenly become perfect, but it becomes friendly. You have spent too long treating life as a problem to be solved. It is not a problem. It is a mystery to be lived. When you stop fighting the mystery, it opens. When you relax into it, it supports you in ways the mind could never predict. And in this support, your life quietly transforms, not through force, but through understanding, not through struggle, but through surrender, not through fear, but through trust that grows naturally when resistance finally dissolves.